Please come.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir.
Come,
Morning,
come,
sir.
come, please.
Morning, sir.
So you're Kush.
Yes, sir.
Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Kush, take a minute and introduce yourself.
Yes, sir.
Take 1 minute
Yes, sir.
and introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, my name is Kush. I graduated with an I graduated from the Electrical Engineering Department at IIT Bombay with a master's specialization in communications and signal processing. After that, I worked for about 2.5 years at Xerox Research India, where I worked on different projects related to public service delivery, primarily in healthcare and transportation verticals for clients in US and Europe. That inspired me to sort of work on similar projects with respect to using tech in governance and so on in India. And that led me to quit my job and prepare for the civil services examination full time. I appeared for the examination in 2020 and I joined the Indian Corporate Law Services, where I was till a couple of months back. I resigned from the services 4 months ago, and right now I am working on an independent project related to end-to-end customs processing, automated, using AI for autofilling of the customs declaration form. This is for a startup based in Singapore to integrate with the Singapore customs. Sir, apart from that, my father, he's working in the telecom sector. My mother is a housewife. I've been staying in Navi Mumbai since quite a bit.
Great. You know, since you worked with corporate affairs, can a country be run as a company?
No, sir. A company cannot be run exactly as a country per se.
No, country as company, not the reverse.
No, sir. A country cannot be
because
run.
you manage.
Yes, sir.
Because it has all the features of a company.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
You have the stakeholders
Right.
in different categories.
Right.
You have the resources.
Right.
So you have the whole value chains and supply chains.
Right.
And then your aim is the welfare of the stakeholders.
Right.
So why can't a country be run like a company?
So the principles that underlie both are similar. However, objective quantification of what you mentioned, the objectives with respect to, say, the welfare of the people, or with respect to balancing the concerns between growth and development, or with respect to balancing concerns, say, between allocation with respect to, or prioritization with respect to security or some other aspect.
Let's come out of this.
At some point.
Let's come out of this.
If that quantification were possible, then I would agree with you. However, that quantification is not always possible.
But even in governance, it's not possible. In the political system, it's not possible.
Exactly.
So both ways.
In a company, it's possible.
Yeah. So then that will be better.
Yes, sir.
That will be better, where you can quantify the outcomes of your action.
Right. So if that quantification were possible, then I'd agree with you. However, that quantification is not possible.
No, I thought let's stop this topic. Good.
Yes,
your answer has been very good. Now, if I say, you see, the humanity is condemned with turbulence. You can look into the history of humanity. Go back by whatever number of years you want to go back. We are so fond of turbulence that we can't live in peace. Now, what are the core drivers of that turbulence? Why this society should always be turbulent? We find a reason to be turbulent, always.
Right.
What are those core factors? Now we are connecting sociology, politics, all that stuff into your company affairs.
Right. Sir, the core factors for that turbulence, I'd like to divide into sort of two parts. One is with respect to social factors, and those social factors are typically on the grounds of something related to some aspect of identity.
One is identity, all right. What else?
One is identity, yes. I mean, identity can have different facets, right? For say, the Middle East, identity facet may be something else. For a current Russia, Ukraine.
In fact, there is something more profound which then gives rise to identity.
Sir, it is possibly some sort of perceived imbalances with respect to.
Yeah, again, imbalance is a symptom of something which is more profound. Don't worry, no problem. Tell me, in your judgment, is the world heading towards Cold War 2.0?
No, sir, I do not think the world is heading towards Cold War 2.0 at all.
Why?
Yes, sir. Sir, there are many reasons. First is because the world is much more multipolar today and multi-aligned today than it was before.
Multipolarity, effective multipolarity.
Effective
World was
multipolarity.
always multipolar, right? In its own sense.
Yes.
But the effective multipolarity
Right. That is.
will prevent.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. And the second reason is sort of more philosophical. The effective multipolarity is practical. The second more philosophical reason is earlier for wars that there's something called a just war theory.
Holy wars,
Yes.
right from the beginning.
Right.
They thought they were just wars.
Right. Until
Yes.
recently, wars used to be justified as just wars. However, I would argue that just war theory is just not possible anymore because of the extent of the interdependency of people
But
on
even
one
now,
another.
You look at all the wars; they are being shown as just wars.
Right, but
for example, you go to Ukraine-Russian war. Russia says my war is just, and
Right.
the Ukrainian side, the other side says their argument is just.
right.
So, even
people are
India,
still
Israel
trying
and Hamas both say we are just.
People are still trying to use that argument. However, that argument does not have significant acceptance anymore. For
But it's
example,
working that way. Otherwise, the war should have stopped.
but the wars are stopping, right? I mean, they're not.
No, war will always stop.
Yes, sir.
War itself is a reason to stop it.
Yes, sir.
Because you get exhausted and finally you stop.
Yes, sir.
Because the resources to fight a war are not unlimited.
Unlimited. Yes, sir.
Right? So as a result, all wars end.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean the argument
Yes.
that people have become wiser.
Sir, I would say that people have become wiser because, for example, like in India, earlier, say if there were, and that wisdom has come because of seeing the impact on the war on themselves. For example, in both the recent crises have led to significant disruptions in, say, commodity prices or supply chains. And that is ultimately felt by the common people the most, right? And that is leading to increased wisdom among the common people ki, no, I do not buy this argument that the war is just because ultimately it's harming me. And that wisdom was not there earlier because that impact was not there earlier. And that impact was not there earlier because that interdependency was lesser earlier.
You see, in fact, if you remember, even the world wars
Right.
caused disruption to the supply lines of the
Right.
day.
Right.
And that was a very major loss to the global economy.
Right.
You see, if you see before the First World War,
Right.
during the colonial period,
Right.
they were very successful supply lines
Right.
of those days.
Right.
Right? Don't really compare them to the
Right,
contemporary
right,
supply
right.
lines.
Right.
People say world was most globalized
Right.
before World War I.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
If you're sitting in London, you could have the Chinese silk, you could have the Brazilian coffee, you could have the Indian tea. But whatever you wanted, you could get in London without any disruption.
Right.
So, not that they didn't know that war will cause disruption in supply lines.
Right. Sir, I meant it with respect to more global knowledge and wisdom, right? For example, as you rightly said, disruption in supply chain, some of the worst effects were felt by India. For example, famines in Bengal. That was a
Don't
result
you think
of
it is the
diversion.
capacity to destroy which is scaring people out? Because the wars earlier could only do that much damage. But the modern warfare can cause much greater damage. As a result, no big player wants to enter into a big war. So there will be small wars, but there will be no big war.
Sir, I'd argue that people are sort of normalized to the capacity or the extent of destruction that can be caused since the nuclear attack.
Mad.
Yes,
Mutually
mutually
assured
assured
destruction.
destruction.
Right.
I believe that.
Did it work?
Yes,
Did
sir.
that work? Mad? It did work.
It.
Yeah, for so many years you didn't have war.
Yes, sir. I mean, still you're not having, as you rightly said, you cannot have a major
It's
war.
not
because of that.
expanding.
Yes, it's not
For
expanding.
example, in both wars,
Right.
all the powers are putting so much of energy for making sure the wars do not expand.
Do not expand. Right.
They stay limited.
Right.
So that is the main cause, because nobody wants a big war. It's because the power to destroy is enormous.
Right. So I look at it from a slightly different way. I think
Not the
people
wisdom part.
Yeah, I would.
The wisdom is determined by the capacity to destroy.
Right. So maybe
Yes?
it's my naivety, but I think it's because of the wisdom.
Okay, Kush. So let's start with your name only.
Yes, sir.
What is Kush? Not you, but in our cultural systems. What is Kush?
Sir, Kush was one of the sons of Ram Bhagwan.
Okay.
And Sir, Kush also means the upper part of a single blade of grass.
All grass? There's a particular species of grass.
So if you have one blade of grass, any grass, the lower part is called love and the upper part is
That's the synonym, but basically there is a Kush is a specified, and in rituals
Yes, sir.
it is used.
Sir, the meaning is upper part of any blade of grass, but colloquially it is referred to as upper part of grass, which is
That's okay. I was talking of specific Kush grass, which is used in all the Brahminical or all the Karmkand rituals. Why it is used? Why only that grass is used?
Sorry, sir, I do not know why only that grass.
So we should find out that. Okay.
When
Now,
there is a lunar eclipse or
everywhere
The
for
food, we'll
purifying.
add that one grass.
Even tarpana of your ancestors.
Yes.
Okay, you have to use that. So anyway, if you are not knowing, that's okay. Okay. Now you have done quite good on patent population modeling system.
Right.
So can you briefly tell about that, and what is the latest projection of population in India, and which ministry or which organization has come out with?
Right. Sir, first part of the question, what was my work about? Sir, I was working on a project while I was working with Xerox. It was related to prediction of prevalence of diabetes for all zip codes in the US.
It was not like demography.
Yeah, so for that we used demographic data, census data. We used survey data with respect to, say, there's one behavioral health factors survey. There was one national health survey which had more number of biomarkers but lesser number of people, because the broader a survey becomes, the lesser number of people you can survey.
Okay, so that work was quite credible. So now, what are our demographic potential and demographic challenge?
Sir, the demographic potential is with respect to the significant amount of population in the working age group. It's called demographic dividend, and it is sort of referred in terms of dependency
Dividend
ratio.
will happen when it delivers.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It becomes more productive, efficient, and excel.
Yes, sir.
So right now it is not it is only demographic potential.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So dependency ratio is less, and that can, as you rightly said, it can, if we reap the growth benefits of that, then it will call demographic dividend. If you are not able to, then it will become a demographic challenge. And this ratio is expected to peak somewhere between 2037 and 2041. In some of the states, it is already peaked, like in Kerala it's already peaked. In Maharashtra, probably it has already peaked.
So which are the states where it is younger?
Sir, obviously, it is going to be, that potential is maximum in some of the youngest states such as Bihar or
And
UP.
they remain chronically backward in all development indicators.
Right. Sir, but there also we have seen significant improvement in many states. Rajasthan, for example, has improved by leaps and bounds over the past decade. Likewise, in recent past, MP and UP have seen significant growth. Odisha has seen significant growth again in the past decade. So I think improvements are happening and there is significant potential. I mean, there used to be a time when people from Odisha used to migrate to West Bengal. now.
So
people from-
midway of the Sustainable Development Goal, right? Um the reports are that we are not likely to achieve most of the goals, right? Um, so do you have any idea where have we progressed as a country? Where do we stand? Which area requires greater impetus? All those aspects, yeah.
Yes, sir. So I can go goal wise and target wise. So sustainable one is zero poverty. There our target is about 10.95%. I think that is something that is already achieved, or by 2030 it will definitely already be.
Poverty we are going.
Next is hunger. Hunger is something, I mean, there is two facets. One is quantitative and the other is qualitative. Quantitative is fine, but qualitative we have a lot to work with, as the recent National Family Health Survey shows. Anemia has increased, child nutrition levels are still not very good. With respect to health and education, again, quantitative aspects we may be able to fulfill. Uh, like in education,
Enrollment,
quantitative-
another
yes,
aspect, yeah.
mean years of
But
schooling.
quality is a report
Quality
is
ASR
worrisome.
reports, yes.
Yeah.
In health,
So what
I
would
think-
you suggest
Right.
for, let's concentrate on health,
Right.
which is where out of pocket expense is very high.
Right.
You have worked perhaps on that also.
Right.
And so what 2-3 key intervention, I mean, just for the next 10 years or 20 years you would like to suggest?
Right. So the first is, again, we need to sort of create this culture of transition towards curative to preventive care,
Okay, very
right?
good.
Because
Yeah.
that is ultimately going
That
to
culture has
culture
dissipated
yes.
actually.
Huh. People still, I mean, if they're suffering from, say, some disease, they delay as much as possible. They're not aware about the fact that it can become bigger, and that
So
is
preventive health has
Right,
to be
right.
or has to be focused.
right. Towards that, two things need to scale up. One is diagnostics, and one is access to wellness initiatives somewhere close to you. So those would be the biggest focus areas.
And in education?
Sir, in education, I believe that there's a difference between sort of the initiatives that are needed for primary would be different from secondary or higher education. In primary education, I think there's stagnation in terms of quality or in terms of curriculum. We always talk about liberalization of economy, liberalization of other things, but education has seen nothing. CBSE or state boards have a huge monopoly, and their curriculums are actually not good at, I believe, that the learning outcomes are in a
Is
way.
it because we haven't focused on preschool foundational learning?
Yes, that is obviously a factor, and the new education policies tries to resolve that by focusing on early childhood care in education, the 3 years before. But apart from that, I think the focus is more on inputs rather than outputs.
Okay. So last question on this. You see, in public service delivery, the biggest challenge today is that India is faced with mostly these million mutinies, right? Transporter rok do, rail band kar do, all these disruptions. So, what is required? How would we have logistics policy playing out, and if situation is allowed to drift like this on so what change you would like? What kind of intervention you would like?
So India has always been a land of million mutinies. I think this was said by V.S. Naipaul. But I don't think that is a barrier per se to, say, having a better logistics system in place. To actually achieve that vision, I think both we need to act both on the supply side and demand side. Supply side is obviously improved quality of the physical as well as the corresponding human resource infrastructure that is going into the logistics. On the demand side, I think policies with respect to improving the level of competition, reducing the barriers to entry for people to come in with respect to logistics, and using technology, and ensuring that all these things actually work together with respect to sort of end-to-end implementation, multimodal transport, and so on. I can go into how each of these can be achieved if needed, but if
And what would be the transport mode you will like?
Right.
different mode,
Right.
the balance, what would you like for India?
Right. So I think right now we are overly dependent on road, and that is not a sustainable way, either in terms of the time or in terms of how much working capital that stops, or in terms of environment. So towards that, train or rail freight has to significantly increase.
Right.
Kush,
Yes, sir.
tell me, you take interest in equity analysis.
Yes, sir.
So, what kind of analysis? How do you do it?
Uh,
How do we assess a company so that we can think of investing in it?
Right. Sir, I'd start by looking at certain basic things, like what is the growth, what the growth has been like with respect to revenue or with respect to profits. What are things like ROE or ROCE? I think that's very important, and whether they're generating cash flows, because in India there are 8,000 listed companies, but only I think 1,500 of them have positive, like greater than zero cash flows. So that's a big thing that should have. These are some of the basic things that I'd like to see. Apart from that, when this is done, if something is sort of
How do you study? Where do you get information? On web or
yes, sir, information is.
or any other specific site which is paid?
There are many specific sites. If there is a site called Screener, which is very simple, very good UI. It provides a lot of all this basic information. And then if you want to study in more detail, there is a site called Tijori. I like that because it provides good breakdown of how the company is spending its cash or how the company is generating its revenue. And if beyond that, if you want to do deep dive, then you'll have to look into the annual reports of the company or the presentations of the company.
You like swimming also, and you like mountaineering also.
Sir, I don't like mountaineering.
But you did a course.
I did a course. I like trekking.
You like trekking.
I did a course mountaineering that involved mountaineering in the Himalayas, and I realized that that is not my cup of tea. But I like trekking.
Think of a situation. There are person who likes oceans,
Yes, sir.
swimming,
Yes, sir.
and the person who likes to go to forest and mountains.
Yes, sir.
What kind of personality two persons may have?
Sir, one common aspect will be with respect to self-reflection. I think swimming as well as trekking, they'll both give a lot of time with oneself. Which, I mean, swimming, literally there is no avenues to talk, right? So you have no choice but self-reflection. And likewise with respect to going into the forest or with trekking, there's one similarity. So difference, I believe that someone who's into swimming is more comfortable with doing something repetitive because it's essentially a very repetitive activity. With respect to into the forest, I think the kind of activities that you will do, they'll not be as repetitive. There'll be different types.
Forests are mysterious, like,
Yes, sir.
but oceans are vast.
Yes, sir.
You need to go to depth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now tell me, the government of India launches various schemes for social welfare and all.
Yes.
So tell me a few important schemes which were launched in 2023, for which the public is getting benefited.
Right. Sir, one very important scheme that was launched was with respect to sort of an umbrella scheme for the welfare of the tribal community. It includes focus on rare diseases such as sickle cell anemia. It also includes focus on, it was launched I think by the Prime Minister himself. It involves, so there are these 𝐒𝐢𝐽𝐵 schools which have a lot of teacher vacancies. So one of the components of that scheme is with respect to filling that vacancy. Another scheme is with respect to overall tribal development. That is one that I am aware of with respect to having a significant direct impact on the people. Sir, apart from that, I cannot think of any new schemes per se which were launched.
G20 presidency we had last year.
Yes, sir.
What are the major achievements out of that G20?
So the first major achievement is organizing G20 across the length and breadth of the country, and that the achievement there is that we use that to significantly expand the scope of topics that would come under discussion under G20. I think we had the highest number of meetings and foreign representatives themselves said that uh, the diversity of the breadth of topics on which discussion took place, they had not taken place before. In terms of tangible outputs, I think the first is with respect to inclusion of African Union. I think it's been an ongoing process since the past few years. It finally materialized this year. I'm not saying all credit would be India's, but significant credit. The second is with respect to launching a global biofuels alliance that has implications in terms of increasing income for farmers as well as reducing our carbon footprint. Third tangible outcome is with respect to millets, popularity of millets, and I think it was in the news that when all the dignitaries were in Delhi, they were served millet-based dishes. So that is another one. The final one is less is tangible, but in a different way. I think the fact that G20 achieved consensus in difficult geopolitical times, that itself is a significant achievement. It may not sound like a big thing, but it's supposed to be a big thing.
You resigned from corporate law service.
Yes, sir. I resigned from corporate law.
So you are now not with the government.
Yes, sir. I'm not.
Again, you are trying for civil service.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Kush,
Yes, sir.
just a quick follow-up.
Yes, sir.
What if you get bored? Say you get IAS.
Yes, sir.
What if you get bored of the Indian Administrative Service in 3 years? Will you quit?
Sir, I did not resign because I was bored.
Huh.
I very much enjoyed what I learned, and I think in the kind of things that I learned, I'm very grateful for it, because I would not have been able to learn anywhere else, or I would not have thought of myself to learn things like looking at balance sheets, things like identifying red flags, corporate governance, and so on.
So why did you quit then?
Sir, I quit because of two reasons. Firstly, I did not see myself there in the long term. My objective for quitting my job and appearing for the civil service with respect to, as I said, working with public service delivery, using my background with respect to technology, bridging gap between industry, academia, governance. I saw that I did not get. I realized that I would not get such opportunities by continuing in the corporate law service.
But
So
in the
it
administrative service, you will get all those opportunities.
Yes, sir. That is what I have
Okay,
figured.
good,
Yes, sir.
very good. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
take that notepad in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
using only addition,
Yes, sir.
how will you get the total 1000
Right.
with 8 8s?
1000 with 8 8s.
Only addition.
Right. I think 24 plus 88 plus 888 is 1000, and 24 is 8 plus 8 plus 8.
So how many 8s totally?
8.
888
Yes.
plus
88
plus
8 plus 8 plus 8.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now write down these numbers in a line. Okay.
Yes, sir.
16
Yes, sir.
06
Yes, sir.
68
Yes, sir.
88
Yes, sir.
blank space
Yes, sir.
98.
Yes, sir.
What is the space in between? Okay, no problem.
Sir, sorry, sir. I'm not
It's
able
okay, it's fine. Turn it around. Turn the notepad around. No, leave it. Turn the notepad. No. Turn it like this,
Okay.
upside down.
Yes.
Now what's the number?
8 6 blank 8 8.
91, 90, 89, 88, 87,
Okay.
86.
Right.
Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
What is the number in
91,
between?
90, 89, 88, 87.
Okay, good. Chalo. Who is Alan Turing?
Sir, Alan Turing, sir, he was he was a computer scientist. And-
Mathematician
Yes, sir, he was
first.
a mathematician first, and he was a computer scientist. and he gave that famous argument to determine if the machine that you are talking to exhibits artificial intelligence. He also did some work with cryptography. I am not able to recollect many of the things.
This is
things that
all.
he
He
has
is he should be considered as the father of your subject.
Yes,
You
sir.
should know everything because you are doing so much of work with AI and
Yes, sir.
everything
done.
else.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, anyways, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Kush,
Yes, sir.
you are from Gujarat. Recently, there was a case of Bilkis Banu.
Yes, sir.
It made the headlines of the newspapers.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you tell me what the exactly Supreme Court had said
Yes, sir.
while he said these convicted should be put in the jail?
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe Supreme Court, I don't believe, I know Supreme Court said the conviction took place in Maharashtra. So the authority or the jurisdiction with respect to remission belongs to the Maharashtra government and not the Gujarat government. And this fact was misrepresented in the earlier hearing.
And that important section of CRPC they have, mentioned in this case. Have you got some idea?
Sorry, sir, I do not know about the section of CRPC.
Okay. Since you are from Gujarat,
Yes, sir.
General Manik Shah once said that I know all the language except Gujaratis because Gujarati don't go in the army.
Yes,
What is the cause? Why they don't join army?
Yes, sir.
Their Punjab regiment, Assam Rifles, why not the Gujarat?
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe enrollment in army depends on multiple things. The first is with respect to whether a culture exists already there with respect to joining the army, and as you said, there's a Punjab regiment. So that inspiration among people from Punjab is there. There is that every family should send one soldier. That culture has never been built in Gujarat. Second is with respect to alternative avenues that people have.
No, but they have been great fighters
Yes,
in
sir.
11th and 12th centuries.
Yes,
You
sir.
perhaps no idea
Yes, sir.
about it.
Yes, sir. They have been great
They
fighters.
were fighting against
Yes, sir.
when the Islamists came
Yes,
in.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They fought. But what
Yes, sir.
happened now?
Yes, sir. So now I believe that alternate avenues are there, significant. That is obviously.
What is Ujjwala Yojana? How much subsidy government has enhanced on it?
Sir, Ujjwala Yojana is with respect to the subsidy for LPG cylinder. Earlier it was rupees 200. Then it was stopped. Now it is rupees 450. But for some people, apart from that, over and above that, state governments also give their own additional subsidy with respect to cylinders. So it varies from state to state, and it also depends on whether it's the first cylinder of the year or something, if state government is announcing additional subsidy.
I am asking about your state.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, another state-related yojana, Saraswati Sadhana Yojana. What is that?
Sorry, sir.
It is very important for girls of scheduled caste.
Sorry, sir. I have not heard of this scheme.
Acha, have you idea of some plannings, government new yojanas?
Sorry, sir.
Acha, you don't have. How long is the coastal line of Gujarat?
So maybe about 750 kilometers. I'm not sure. I'm taking a
Which
guess
state
here.
has got the longest, coastal line in India?
Sir, it is Gujarat.
That is Gujarat. So it's more than that. Okay, thank you, sir.
Kush, just go out for a minute and come
Yes, sir.
back.
Yes,
Rather,
sir.
not a minute, 10 seconds. Just
Yes,
touch
sir.
the door and come back.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.